We are live! And I just realized right before going live that I don't have any pants. I never wear pants or shoes, and I just keep a pair of pants down here. And
I got a pair of pants down here just for the show?
I mean, that's why it's the same pair of pants every day, but they were filled with golden glitter yesterday, so I had to throw them in the wash. And then, like, seconds before going on, I went in and changed my shorts. Sorry, everyone.
It's all legs all day today.
Yep. Mine look particularly bad because they're tall and
they look so dark because there's no light that hits them.
Thank goodness. You guys don't want to be seeing all this. So you had a busy day today.
Yeah, I mean, we both did, but...
You definitely did more than me. Much more than me.
Yeah, we had somebody over in the house. She has been quarantined on the island the entire time, and we won't say who it is, but we did a photo shoot and got some new content.
Four photo shoots. You did 3. I did 1.
One of them might have been a failure, but I'm trying to work on some compositing work. That's a lot harder than I usually think. But yeah, so we should have some good videos coming out in the next couple of weeks on the main F-Stoppers channel. I know people are eager to see some photography-related content.
Yeah, we used to do that sort of thing.
More importantly, though, we had perhaps my favorite pizza today.
I
don't know that was my favorite pizza, but
yeah, I because there was a model over here.
You decided, what do all models love when they're doing a photo shoot?
Well, I always feel like you fail to think when people are here working for 8 hours. You always fail to think about getting them food. So I was like, I'm going to get food. I'm going to get pizza. And she was like, I cannot eat pizza. I have a swimsuit job tomorrow. She was like, maybe I'll eat a salad later. But she wasn't like, get me a salad or anything. So I tried to order a salad at Pizza Hut, which does not exist.
Yeah.
So we had to get her a salad.
Yeah, she told me, she's like, I'm just not going to eat. And I was like, were you in here when she said that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Oh, she's like, I'm just not going to eat because I got this swimsuit thing tomorrow. And I was like...
She's so skinny already.
I was like, oh, you're not going to eat? Okay. And then she mentioned the salad, and then it was like an hour later. She's like, so can I get that salad? And I was like, oh, I thought... Because I hadn't eaten either. I was like, oh, I'll just continue on with you, work until I need food. But
yeah.
So a little Pizza Hut never hurt anybody, right?
It hurt me.
Yeah.
It hurt me. It just... I got this deep dish thing. I got this pizza. This pizza was literally, like, I'm not exaggerating, I think it was this long. It was like this. It was 3 deep dish pizzas in one. I just went to the website, and it was a big ad for it right on the website. I was like, yeah, give me that. And it was just dips in butter and just, it's too much. It's too much. I think my new favorite deep dish pizza might be Domino's. I mean, it's not new,
good
but
pizza,
like that deep dish.
Whenever they redid their pizza like 10 years ago, that was the best. It is the best, I think.
I'm not even sure they made any changes. It was just like an ad campaign. They
really?
Acted like,
I remember Domino's being like tar paper or something. I don't know. It was not good pizza.
RJ says he gave $5 for Lee looking like that yellow bastard in the Sin City movie. I'm trying to remember if I've even seen Sin City. I may have tried to watch it and just like was over it. And
I don't recall loving Sin City's script, plot, but the way that it's shot.
Yeah.
I wish more comic movies would film movies that looked like that movie. If you had a Spider-Man or some of these my favorite comic books, a Spawn, something like that, and you shot it the way that Sin City was photographed filmed, I think that would be so awesome because it looks like a graphic novel. Like that's the main one.
Yeah, but is it too much at a certain point? You're just like, I don't want to look at this for hours on end.
I like it. I just feel like the story itself didn't really resonate with me. And who is that? Is that Rodriguez?
I don't know, but apparently I look like a guy in that movie. Which video should we play first today?
Number 2 feels like some of the biggest news I heard today, but again, I wasn't too consumed with the news.
Yo!
What is happening?
So there's a protest going on in Albuquerque where they're trying to remove some conquistador statues or something, you know, some Spaniards that came, and I guess now were anti any settlers or any, what do you call it when you go and you take over their country?
Um,
I'm so tired right now. Like, I can't think.
Colonizers.
Colonizers, right. So they were trying to pull the statue down, and this is an altercation between...
So they are going after somebody who is trying to pull it down?
No, I think they're all trying to pull it down, and this guy is from the area, and maybe he was saying, hey, like, he's an anti-Black Lives Matter type of dude. I don't know, he's right-winger or something.
Okay.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
So it's like the worst footage ever, but this guy in the blue is apparently the dude who fired upon people. And I don't know what's going on with the guy on the right. Is he dead?
Yes, Gina, it was the New Mexico Civil Guard who shot. I have it on video. Back up, guys! Back up, please! Back up!
Hands up! Back up!
So that's the scene in Albuquerque last night, I believe. And then the next video explains what happened a little bit better.
Okay.
That footage wasn't going to win any awards.
No.
Start with that breaking news for you. Albuquerque police say a suspect has been arrested in the shooting of a protester last night. That person now being booked into MDC as we speak. Police say he has been identified as 31-year-old Stephen Ray Baca, and he will be charged with aggravated battery for a case that sent protesters running. One protester is fighting for his life in the hospital this morning. Our very own News 13's Jamie Seymour live at Teague Park, where this all unfolded with witness video as well, showing the terrifying moments. Good morning, Jamie.
Crystal, good morning. Protesters want this statue of Juan de Onate taken down, but when an armed militia referring to themselves as the New Mexico Civil Guards showed up, witnesses say that's when things escalated. Video posted to Facebook shows protesters trying to tear down the statue of the Spanish conquistador before shots are fired. Shortly after, police arrived in armored vehicles. Cell phone video shows members of the Civil Guard on the ground getting handcuffed. Officers threw tear gas and flashbangs into the crowd to keep people away from the scene. Witnesses at the scene tell us dozens called APD for help before the shooting as tensions rose, but police arrived after the protester was shot.
No cops came onto scene. By the time we ran here, shots fired and a gentleman fell down. She was in that part and helped him rescue, and at that point, a whole swarm of poor supporters helped to resuscitate and make sure that he was good.
The gathering around the Don Juan de Onate statue started peacefully after a petition circulated saying it needed to be removed as it continues serving as a reminder of colonial violence. Mayor Keller released a statement calling the shooting tragic, outrageous, and an unacceptable act of violence. The city now says they're going to take down this statue until they figure out another plan. Crystal, back to you.
The lighting on her in that scene drives me crazy.
Looks like she's in front of green screen.
Yeah, you know, it's something about that doesn't look right. Maybe they're just filling in from the opposite side, but just put the light on the left side and make it look normal.
So, you know how I love confusing racism? Like when you don't really know if this is the group of people that are downtrodden or they're the elite, and do they have privilege or not, and all this stuff. This is something I was thinking about yesterday, and it definitely, wraps into this as well. It seems like in America, and I don't know if this is in other parts of the world and stuff, but don't most people consider Spanish people from South America to be minorities and treated poorly and all that, like Mexicans and other...
There's a hierarchy, right?
Yeah. But like in this scenario, they don't see Spanish people came from Spain and colonized, and then all these people replicated in South America. But
in like one way it's their heritage, but in another way it's the oppressor?
Well, no, I'm just like...
I don't know if I'm following you here.
I thought that they were the oppressed. I thought that like Spanish people in South America who come to the U.S., they are oppressed. I thought they were supposed to be people of color, and they
Yeah.
are oppressed as
Okay.
well. But when you look at the statues, those are the people they came from, but they don't consider those people to be oppressed. Those are just white people. Those are statues of
I
white
guess I'm
people.
confused. Like, those are the original Spaniards from Spain
Yes.
that came to America and then massacred people and like took over and
Sure,
colonized.
but they also went to South America, and they colonized there too, right?
Yeah, I would imagine in South America they're upset too. Or no? I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, it's weird to me that if you ask somebody about a Spanish person in America, they would be like, oh no, they don't have privilege. They are downtrodden. Like, we must listen to
From
them.
Spain.
and- Not necessarily from Spain.
See, I don't. And then this is where you're getting weird. Is I don't think anyone looks at Spanish as being Hispanic or being South American
Why though?
or Caribbean
Why? Like,
or Latino. I don't know, because I feel like they're different things. Like the language is the same, but the group of people are different.
are
Nope.
they? I thought they all came over, and that's how it all
I
started.
mean, Mexicans aren't from Spain.
I thought they were all related. I thought they came and colonized and had babies with the natives and everything. I thought
their bloodlines are now, I believe, but there's a lot of African blood in Mexicans. There's a lot of Native Americans in Mexicans.
Mm-hmm.
So like that culture has a lot of mixed blood anyway, and maybe a percentage of it. I want to say Kristen's from Jamaica, and I believe that one of her aunts did a 23andMe, and she was a large percentage Spanish from Spain because it
Okay.
was colonized. But I don't know if I'll have to ask her this. I don't know if they look at Spain and look at them as racist white people, or because now that's half their blood. Like half of her aunt's blood is that. So I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
It gets really confusing when you're like, if you have no Spanish blood in you at all, you can look at them and be like, screw. I mean, you can do that with anybody. You can look at the us versus them and you can say, screw that population, they're the oppressors. But when your grandparents or great-grandparents are from that, it gets really weird, right?
That's my whole point. It seems like these people have an issue with people from Spain, but the descendants of these people
Are their neighbors?
are like not just their neighbors, but are the most oppressed people they know, and must be held up, by all of us, and we must help these downtrodden people. But it's like, but that's their grandparents that you're trying to pull down right here.
Maybe. I don't know if I'm totally following you here, but
Maybe I need to do a little bit more of my.
somebody is saying, like,
research.
do Americans view themselves as English? So at some point, you start to disassociate yourself from the parent group, right?
At some point.
I mean,
yes.
I think I have a lot of Polish blood in me. I can't remember my 23andMe. I think it was a lot of Poland and maybe some German, maybe some English, but like,
Okay, but,
yeah, I feel like I'm kind of English, even if that's like 5% of me.
but let me simplify.
please
it this
do.
way. Let me simplify it this way. These people would look at these statues and be like, these white colonizers are evil.
Yeah.
We need to rip this down.
Right.
White colonizers. But they are Spanish people with darker brown skin
Yeah.
who exist south of North America,
Yeah.
but you don't hate them. You don't hate the descendants of those people, but in many cases you do hate the descendants of other white people.
So is it Thomas Jefferson who had children with slaves?
I think so.
Could their children look at Thomas Jefferson and be like, I hate white people and I hate Thomas Jefferson, even though I'm a descendant of him and I'm black? Or is that totally different? I don't know. I'm not totally, to be honest, following what
I'm
you're-
probably not doing a good job. I'm tired as well.
I imagine these conquistadors are conquistadors?
I thought it was conquistador, but apparently I was wrong about cutter.
I don't know. Your wife Katie was saying it's not conquistador, it's conquistador.
That's what I thought.
I imagine that they're pretty white, but maybe that's like a bias that's instilled in me that's wrong.
It's
I mean,
like-
you look at people in Spain and they're not white. So I don't know. It gets kind of confusing.
Let's see. Cruise Man's Garage says appearing in goldface could get you demonetized. It's probably true. Photog Mike says, can you guys do a video showing these protesters how to properly use their cell phone when recording the things? Maybe recommend a gimbal and a mic. That's true. We do need higher quality protest footage.
What is the preferred orientation for protest videos? Is it the vertical or is it the horizontal?
It's always horizontal. Leonard says, that particular Spanish conquistador was responsible for the killing of thousands of Native Americans in New Mexico. Leonard says, I come from a long line of English chicken thieves. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like you could keep going back and back and back, and I'm sure you could look at the Native Americans that he killed, and weren't there more than multiple tribes of Native Americans that were also fighting with each other, and they were held up like the most violent of the tribes, and the leaders that could kill the most amount of their enemies were the best and the most powerful and everything. Like, weren't they super violent too? So I just feel like, once again, the average American would say, no, Native Americans are downtrodden people, and we must listen to them, and they were having a beautiful life before white people came in and destroyed them. And then you point to say, well, they were murderers too, and like they won't hear that. And I'm just saying,
You're saying the Indians are murderers? The
Native Americans were murderers too, from what I understand.
It just seems like anytime any group of people moves into a land that's not theirs, murder and war happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the Native American studies I did in Alabama, I mean, it was like the Creek and the Chickasaw, they were all fighting each other and killing each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were murderous too, and I don't know if
Right.
they killed 1,000 of them. I don't know what the number was. They didn't come quite as far away. They may have come from over the river, but they didn't come from over the sea.
Right.
I don't know.
Who knows? I'll come up with a more well thought out racism debate tomorrow. Consumer spending surges.
So May's retail sales results obviously pretty eye-popping, but it's not really clear exactly the picture it's painting. Is this a true recovery? Is it just pent-up demand? Or actually, is it not so great? May retail sales did grow nearly 18% or nearly 17% ex-autos from April. The best month-over-month increases on record for both of those. But consumers drove again, went to restaurants, bought sporting goods, books, and more to entertain themselves at their spruced up inside and outside homes in May compared to the month of April. But when you compare this May to last May, it looks a little less like retail spending is.
Why would they even compare it to a month of lockdown?
It doesn't
That
make
is
any
so
sense.
stupid. Of course we should be comparing it to last May.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
All the way back. Yes, the big number, still good. Core retail sales down just 1.4% from last May. Pretty good, because much of the country was at least partially closed during the month. But clothing and accessories up a really impressive 118% in May from April. But down 63% still from last year. Electronics, appliance stores, that was also up very impressively in May from April, 51%, but down 30% when you compare it to what we saw last year. Still, the market reaction pretty decisive today. Clothing names are surging. Nordstrom shares up more than 15%, Kohl's up 8%, Gap up more than 6.5%, Abercrombie and Fitch up higher as well. The parents of shoe seller DSW, Designer Brands, that is surging almost 15%. Tapestry higher by 6%, and Capri Holdings up more than 8% as well. And then take a look at Bed Bath & Beyond. This name has been beaten up. It has some pretty volatile swings, but worth noting today, up almost 15%. It's among the home names that have really soared recently over the last 3 months even, all benefiting from this stay at home and fix it up kind of trend.
I was shocked that Abercrombie and Fitch was still around. Didn't that get pulled from all the malls, or is that still there? One of those
I
big
think I
stores.
noticed it in malls.
Really? One of those stores went bankrupt, I thought, like 5 years ago. I thought it was that one, but I mean, I think both numbers are good, right? You need to know where we came from, like what is it looking like since last month. But the real number to compare the economy is where was it last year to date?
Every time anyone mentions us being up from last month, they should also have to say, in this pandemic environment in which we live, they should have to say, but keep in mind, it's still down 30% from last year, same time. Okay, thank you. It's
so
just
the economy's
misleading.
not booming.
No.
It's booming compared to last month.
When it was turned off.
Yeah, when it was off.
It's ridiculous.
I saw in here, Leonessa said that they are voting tomorrow on whether or not to take down the Calhoun statue in Charleston, in Marion Square.
It's crazy.
She also has a new avatar, which looks like a gold Lee head.
Oh boy, I haven't seen this.
Yeah. I don't know where you'll find her in the chat.
Is this her right here?
Yeah.
I mean, that just looks like gold. I can't see anything.
Oh, maybe she changed it, but like right here, that's definitely your head.
I appreciate the homage.
People are saying South America does not look kindly on Spanish history.
But they are Spanish. I don't understand. Like, Who are they mad at?
Can you not hate your own ancestry?
Sure, you can say, like, my ancestors did horrible things, but, like, we're here now, and we can be better people now, and I can go back to Spain and not hate Spanish people who live in Spain.
I mean, that seems like the reasonable thing to say.
Right.
But it feels like we're in an environment where you and I can't say that. Like, I can't say, hey, I didn't do any of this stuff, and my ancestors did horrible things. I mean, I don't even know if that's true. My ancestors might have been like my great-great-grandfather came from Poland.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, he probably didn't move to the South and own slaves. So I feel like I could say that, but I can't say that, right?
Or people who do know for a fact. They're like, my great-grandfather came here in 1940.
Yeah.
He didn't own slaves. Like, he had nothing to do with any of this. But he's still looped in, you know, with all the crap.
I wonder what percentage of Americans you could trace back. I mean, slavery's not that old. I mean, it's like 200 years ago, there were slave owners in the South. I mean, you go to South Carolina and Charleston, I mean, there are huge communities that are, they're descendants from the slave, like their great-grandfather was a slave. So it's not that long ago, which is kind of crazy to think of.
Yeah.
You could even think of, like, I think of World War II sometimes, and I'm like, it is insane that 50 years ago, 100 years ago, we were dealing with, 75 years ago, World War II with all the craziness with Nazis and the Holocaust and all that. And it's like, that seems like humanity is not capable of doing that. But when I think about it, and slavery and all these other horrible crimes against humanity, I just always think we're all capable of doing this stuff. Push comes to shove, the right guy comes into power, and I don't know, it's kind of scary to think that we're not that far removed from some of the worst things that have ever happened in American history.
So true.
Yeah, Betty, without having really any of the facts, just some of the initial circumstances, two different police unions came out boldly saying they believe this was intentional and that the sheikhs were spiked with bleach in an effort to hurt these police officers who are on their dinner break. But after an all-night investigation that pressed on into the morning, we learned from the chief of detectives that they believe this was a big accident and the sheikhs were not sabotaged as the unions had previously claimed. We saw overnight that 3 of the workers were taken away by the NYPD as part of this investigation. They were never charged, but they were just questioned. Sources say the 3 cops assigned to the 42nd precinct in the Bronx were in Lower Manhattan last night for a Black Lives Matter protest detail. Investigators then calling in the crime scene unit to look for any sort of evidence at the Fulton Center franchise to probe whether the cops were intentionally poisoned, which was claimed initially by the detectives union. The Patrolmen's Benevolent Association also initially believed that bleach was mixed into the milkshakes that sent them to the Manhattan emergency room for treatment.
It goes to show a police officer can never relax because of the atmosphere on the street. This will be investigated, and wherever that investigation leads, we'll find out soon enough. We're on the way to Bellevue now to see the police officers to make sure they're okay.
Shake Shack, in a statement on Twitter, said it was initially horrified by those initial reports, but then updated us saying they're working to get the full picture of what happened and they're relieved that the officers are okay. Yes, they have all been treated and released from the hospital, and police at this point still believe that there was some sort of cleaning agent that was accidentally still left inside of that shake machine, which mixed in with the product that got the officers sick. We've reached out to the unions for an updated comment, still waiting to hear back. Live in Lower Manhattan, I'm Anthony DiLorenzo, Pixel.
Did you hear this story?
No.
It was all over the news this morning, Shake Shack.
No, I didn't hear that, but I would like a little bit more information. First of all, did they not taste bleach? Like, how much bleach do you have to have in your drink to have it make you sick, but for you to not taste it?
$400 and we'll find out.
What's $400?
We'll test it. We'll do anything.
No.
Well, I just want to know, like, how was it only cops that got sick? I mean, if there was bleach in the milkshake, and Shake Shack is named after milkshakes, wouldn't there be a ton of people not in the police force that got sick?
Yeah.
It almost kind of seems like only police officers got sick.
Yeah, it's just there's not really enough details with this story.
I think this story and then the first one in Albuquerque where the guy, shot back. And to be fair, like, I think he was being attacked. Like, people are saying, like, there's other footage out there where somebody's coming at him with a skateboard and, like, he was being threatened.
Yeah.
So he pulled out his gun and shot somebody. I also saw a news story that said he had run for, like, mayor or something recently. So everyone knows who this guy is. But he did not have the proper conceal license for his gun. But my point is, I can just see with some of these stories that I've been saying for a while, I can't believe somebody hasn't started shooting people, you know? I'm shocked we haven't had some kind of crazy mass shooter, left or right, from all of this, because it just feels like it's the easiest way to get publicity right now. And a lot of these sick mass shooters, that's what they're in for. But the point is that are people going to start taking revenge on police? Are rioters on either side, protesters, are they going to start firing at other Americans? It just feels like this whole thing can be escalated so easily.
Yep. Photog Mike says, absolutely no one are Indians from Indiana.
If you're from Indiana, are you an Indian? That's weird, right? Is that what they call themselves?
Or an Indianian. I don't know what people from Indiana are called.
We were having an argument. Were you part of this the other day about Indian style?
Is that offensive now?
Well, Kristen was like, it's not Indian style, it's Native American style. I don't know what she was saying.
Isn't it just like cross-legged or something?
Yeah, but she was trying to say it's not Indian, it's Native American. And I'm like, I remember Street Fighter 2, and he definitely sat Indian style, and he was from India, right? So can you not still say sitting Indian style is culturally correct?
Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that you think Indian style came from the country of India?
I don't know. I would imagine I would imagine humans have been sitting in that style for much longer than we knew about Native Americans.
Of course.
So somehow sitting with your legs crossed has been in America attributed as Indian style, which is Native American style. But if you erase America for 200 years, for 1,000 years, for however long Native Americans have been here, I imagine people around the world have been sitting that way too.
No one had ever done it before. But you do bring up a good point that Doslim, or whatever his name is, he's
from India, and he sat Indian style, right?
Yeah, that's cultural misappropriation.
Or was it the correct appropriation? Have we been given Native Americans
credit for something they didn't invent?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have gone deep. Photog Mike says, turned out the machine was cleaned properly. Don't know what that means. Photog Mike is killing it once again with his super chats that make no sense.
I didn't hear what you said. I bet I would understand that super chat. What was it?
He just said, turns out the machine was cleaned properly.
Yeah, we're just talking about the ice cream machine, the Shake Shack.
Yeah, so what does it mean? Turns out it was cleaned properly.
Yeah, there was no cleaner in the shake.
So is he insinuating that somebody put bleach in the thing?
No. He's insinuating that there was nothing in the machine, there was nothing in the shake, and however all those police officers got sick, it wasn't from Shake Shack's ice cream machine at all.
I think you're reading into that. He didn't say any of that.
Turns out the machine was actually cleaned properly.
Okay, but there was poison in the drinks.
Did they say that was confirmed that there was poison?
I don't know, but you're reading into Photog Mike. Makes no sense.
Oh, boy.
Tom Hoppin says people from Indiana are called Hoosiers. I like Indians better. Indianians. This is just a quick kind of COVID up. You know, every news channel does this, like, 22 states have seen a rapid uptick in the last 48 hours. So let's watch that.
Miami's mayor responding to Florida's 10,000 new cases in a week, vowing not to roll back reopenings, but freezing the next phase.
If you had to close down again, could you survive that?
I can definitely tell you that it'd be very, very tough.
The medical challenges of this latest spike looming large.
Everybody who works in the hospital knows that there's no such thing as no risk. So people have stepped up to the plate.
Dr. Yvonne Johnson says the most important metric to measure is hospitalizations. And right now in Miami-Dade, it's a steady number that's only recently started to climb. Contrast that with Arizona, where hospitals have activated emergency plans, and in Texas, now seeing record numbers of COVID hospitalizations. In California, cautious optimism with ICU numbers barely budging.
A lot of folks were out and about on Memorial Day, and you can see, again, the trend line remains remarkably stable. But by no means does the past equal the future.
The present, a reminder of that, after LA County health officials visited 2,000 restaurants over the weekend, finding half of them out of compliance with regulations. In Nashville, shocking images of packed bars.
Didn't Kristen want to go to Nashville?
We were going to get a dog from, well, no, our dog is in Nashville. We put a down payment on a dog.
That's where the party's at.
I know. I used to live in Nashville. I'm kind of excited to go back, but I mean, that looked like they had bands and parties and stuff. I didn't think that.
After LA County health officials visited 2,000 restaurants over the weekend, finding half of them out of compliance with regulations. In Nashville, shocking images of packed bars, 14 venues cited for no face masks or social distancing.
If we don't pay attention to things that we've done to this point that's made us successful, then all our successes will be gone because of a few selfish people.
Dun dun dun.
I mean, again, I think right around today was when I said we should look at the beginning of the protests, and then even a week before that, Memorial Day, and this is when all of those people should be getting sick. And I don't know how to go back and say, like, are we where I was predicting we would be? It seems like the numbers are going up, but are they going up exponentially, or they're just staying stable? And
well, you know, there's been a lot. I didn't even put this video in here, but I've seen CNN, somebody wrote 3 times, there was no bleach in the machine, there was bleach in the cup. All right, so that would...
So maybe it came from another means. It came from the cups.
Poison, yeah, bleach in the cups, in the plastic cups.
Yeah, we got to look into the company that makes the cups.
What were we talking about?
We're talking about COVID and talking about the cases going up. And
oh, yeah, so Trump and Pence have recently said, maybe they said this today or yesterday, that, you know, the reason the numbers are going up is because we're testing more. And Trump said something like, you know, if we stopped testing, we'd have hardly any cases. And so, of course, everyone on the left is like, he's so dumb, oh my gosh. And I'm like, again, it's not the smartest thing to say, but I know what he's trying to say. Yeah. It makes sense to me. He's not saying we should stop testing. He's just saying if we did, then people wouldn't worry as much. But the real thing to look at is hospitalizations and deaths.
Yeah.
And so I was just looking at Florida, because we're thinking about going to Florida the next week or two. And their deaths look very consistent for the last month or two. So it doesn't appear to really be going down or up, which probably isn't good news, but it's not as bad as people seem to be pointing.
That's the biggest thing that's frustrating, talking to friends and family and stuff. I mean, the girl that came here today, we were talking about cases in Puerto Rico and stuff. It's like nobody gets the concept that the numbers are going up because the testing is going up. Yeah. It seems like such a simple narrative that I feel like all news channels should be talking about, but they don't. And so every family member, everyone I talk to is like, the cases are going up and it's getting crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but the testing is going up. If anything, we're at the same level we were back at the beginning, but at the beginning we weren't testing at all. So maybe the beginning was way worse than it is now.
Right.
If we would have tested people at the beginning, maybe the numbers percentage-wise would have been way lower, you know? Do we know, you said you just looked at the numbers and the deaths and stuff look like they're pretty consistent? Or just in Florida?
Just in Florida. Photog Mike says, there was leftover residue of bleach. Again, I don't know what that means. 420 Tendies says, Lee, do you think Indians from India are English? No, I do not. Photog Mike says, it was not intentional. I'm not sure.
Well, somebody else is saying in here that there was no bleach in the machine. but that there was residue in the drinks. So then it was added specifically to the drinks, which would make sense because, like I said, did other people get sick? It seems like a lot of people have gotten sick if it was in the machine. So if only police officers got sick, then it feels a little bit more deliberate, but they said that they have no proof of that. Maybe Shake Shack has like surveillance cameras on their employees. You would be able to see people slipping in the bleach, but that's like such a bullshit thing to do, you know? You're poisoning people, like that's insanity. Like that's not even caring about Black lives or anything. That's just being like,
I mean, is it potentially murder? I don't know how much bleach you have to drink
it's like,
before you die.
Yeah, it's like a crazy person does that.
Yeah. MM, thanks for the super chat. Cruiseman says, stop testing. New cases of Rona will plummet. So true. Photog Mike says, 2 cops, 1 cup.
42010 says, how does Lee never know what's going on?
What does
it mean? What does that even mean? What are we just talking about? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
I know exactly what's going on, and each time you're like, no, he's saying this, and then he comes out and he's not saying that. Or like, no, there's bleach
like,
in the machine. No, there's not.
The comments like, Florida deaths are actually up 2 times. What does that even mean?
No,
Florida,
that's not what I'm saying. Photog Mike said it was not intentional. If Photog Mike is saying there was no bleach in the machine and there was bleach in their drinks and it was not intentional.
That doesn't make sense. Now
you're what? It doesn't make sense. Wow. I accept your apology.
I think you still have cognitive issues.
We do have some breaking news just this morning. South Korea says North Korea has blown up an inter-Korean liaison office building just north of the border between the two countries. According to the Associated Press, North Korea...
So, I watched this. I didn't know if I should put it in here if it was really related to anything. But, hopefully this will end with the same thing that my other one, the video that I saw ended with. Remember that...
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, who's Kim Jong-un's best friend, NBA player?
Dennis Rodman?
Dennis Rodman said, he was like, you know there's a serious problem when Kim Jong-un's sister shows up, because she should not have any power.
Had threatened to demolish the office as it stepped up its fiery rhetoric over South Korea's failure to stop activists from flying propaganda leaflets across the border. This video from the South Korean Ministry of Defense shows the moment the bombing took place. The move by North Korea comes as the United States and North Korea remain deadlocked on nuclear diplomacy. Join us now from London, NBC News senior international correspondent Keir Simmons. Keir, good morning. So what exactly happened here?
Well, Willie, I mean, this is symbolic and also, I think, potentially serious, not least for President Trump as he heads towards the election in November. This inter-Korean liaison office was set up in 2018 amid much fanfare. It was a symbol of peace. Now it's been reduced to rubble. There is really the kind of North Korean Kremlinology, if you like. So the threat to do this was made by Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, and you know, I think it's a sign of the tension inside North Korea. For example, coronavirus, they've had to close their borders. That would have had real economic impacts. They're angry, ostensibly, about balloons being sent across the border from the south with USBs in them, with news from South Korea, with even dollar bills in them. But I think more broadly, there is deep frustration in North Korea, in Pyongyang, about the stalemate with President Trump and with President Moon of South Korea. I think you've got to remember how much Kim Jong-un invested in that relationship and in those talks, and there hasn't been progress now for some time. So,
I mean, have we seen anything from Kim Jong-un since that weird ribbon cutting thing?
I don't know.
Is there any way that he's dead? And I remember when all that was going down, and I was like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think he's dead because TMZ has officially reported that he has died. Yeah. And TMZ has been right about everything recently. You know, it's not really the same garbage made-up stuff they used to do in the past.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a couple weeks later, he shows up in a couple of pictures, and then never again does he show up, and his sister seems to be making bombing calls now. How is that possible?
Yeah, and I don't know enough about the decentralized zone because this building is in North Korea. It's not like this building is in South Korea. It's in North Korea. But it was also just opened 2 years ago. It's like a brand new building. I wonder if the pictures of Trump was at that location or if they just throw up random pictures. If he was at the building that they blew up or if that was just totally unrelated.
Don't know. Steve Robertson says they need to look at positive cases as a percentage of tests completed. Yeah, that was something we talked about a month ago or something. What do they want? Something like 20% of all tests to be negative. And that doesn't necessarily show you that you have the virus under control. It shows you that you have enough excess testing going on to be able to get ahead of things. Photog Mike says, a thorough investigation by NYPD's Manhattan South investigators, it has been determined that there was no criminality by Shake Shack's employees. Oh, so like, is this over already? That seems really fast.
So how did they get sick?
Or
did they drink something with residue and they did get sick, but that wasn't malicious?
Don't know.
There's probably like a 1-minute video that I could have found that would have answered all of this.
Come on, Patrick, get it with it. Photog Mike says the last super chat was a tweet from the NYPD directly. Interesting. MM says One America News Network reported that Kim Jong-un was dead. How long ago, though? Because I haven't seen anyone mention him being alive or healthy or dead or sick in months, a month. I don't remember how long ago that was.
It's weird. You have the stories like Kim Jong-un dying. You have the story of the people trying to assassinate the president of Venezuela. Some of these stories just completely die. They're a big story that day, maybe the biggest story of the day. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't care about those people that tried from America, from Florida, who tried to assassinate the president.
Yeah, what happened to that?
What happened with that? What's going on with Kim Jong-un?
We gotta look into that.
I tried.
Was it, like a Miami?
I tried, and there's just no stories about it. At least there wasn't in video format.
You would think it would be all over Reddit or 4chan or something.
The other video I was trying to get for today that I wanted to get yesterday was this cyber attack thing that happened 2 days ago. And there's nothing on YouTube. There's no mainstream media talking about this at all. It's all these like anonymous accounts and those crazy voiceover accounts. And there's a lot of stuff on it, but not one legitimate news source. And
so for people who don't know what happened, because I don't really know what happened.
I don't really know either. I just saw that we were under like a DDoS attack. They just bombard our servers and stuff, and it was like 30 or 50 companies, like Verizon, YouTube, like a lot of companies were down 2 days ago. I didn't notice any of it. I don't know if that's because I'm in Puerto Rico or because it wasn't that big of a deal. But I just saw all over social media about this attack. And yet I can't find any reputable news sources to even quote. So I'd like to know more about it. But when
I saw somebody speculating that it was like a country attacking us.
China was testing their capabilities.
Or trying to steal user data or something all at once.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right, we're caught up. So the other day we were talking about whether vaccine tests include injecting people with the coronavirus. And we're both kind of right, but they haven't done it yet, but they're pushing to infect people. So this is a quick little clip.
Doyle is taking part in a traditional clinical trial, a process that usually unfolds in 3 phases. First, small groups receive the test vaccine to test for its basic safety. The study is then expanded to include target groups for the vaccine before it's then given to thousands more who then go back to their daily lives to see how well it protects them from the disease. That process relies on people getting accidentally exposed to the virus and can often take months or years, leading health experts to warn that the best-case scenario for a COVID-19 vaccine could be a long way off.
Although this is the fastest we have ever gone from a sequence of a virus to a trial, it still would not be any applicable to the epidemic unless we really wait about a year to a year and a half.
The urgency to find a vaccine has led to concerns that those traditional clinical trials that are already underway aren't moving quickly enough. And there's now growing calls to begin another, more controversial kind of trial. They're called human challenge trials. And if they move forward, it would mean a smaller group of volunteers would be given a vaccine and then deliberately infected with COVID-19 to quickly test if the vaccine works.
Challenge studies fill a really critical gap there.
Seema Shah, a bioethicist at Northwestern University, says the real value of human challenge trials is their speed.
So you can take two groups of people, randomize one to receive a vaccine, the other to receive placebo, and then expose them to the virus. And if you see a difference between those two groups, you know very quickly whether that vaccine worked.
Now, up until this point, human challenge trials have only been used with diseases like malaria or a typhoid fever, curable if the vaccine fails. With COVID-19, there is no cure.
So it sounds like I'm right. They just said they've never done that before, except in these few random cases.
Right, but they are trying to do it for this. So I'm right.
I didn't say they weren't trying to do it. I just said this was the only group that I knew of that was going to inject people with the virus. That seemed a little crazy to me.
Yeah. But if people are willing to do it, and I've thought, why not pay people? What if you paid somebody 20 grand? What if you paid them 100 grand? There's a certain price that it would be worth
life,
it.
Yeah.
I mean, not for their life, but for them to put their life at risk. Couldn't you make the argument that many jobs are dangerous? You're going to work on a...
Yeah, you get paid a lot more, and people take those jobs.
Yeah.
You take the night shift, you can work in construction.
On a...
heavy machinery.
Crab boat.
Those oil rigs. You see those things blow up. And
yeah, exactly.
We have a guy in here named El Dorado, and he as well has a... It looks like his thumbnail is you either licking your lips with the gold or coughing when you had your coughing fit.
Is that all you have to say?
Yeah, I enjoy seeing...
Somebody needs to set their profile picture to Patrick's golden face.
I wasn't as good. I kept it together. I just had a little burning of the eyes.
420 Tindy says, cyber attack was a failed T-Mobile network update. Really? Haven't heard that. Here's a bit of good news, maybe. Unless Trump, of course, says that he likes this.
Scientists at the University of Oxford reported promising findings in their search for a treatment for COVID-19. A steroid known as dexamethasone was shown to reduce COVID-19 deaths when it was used in a 6,000-patient study. Researchers still have much to learn about exactly how the drug works on COVID-19 patients. It doesn't attack the virus itself, but it seems to reduce the amount of damage done to the lungs. They report it also softens the devastating inflammatory response caused by COVID-19. Another piece of good news, the steroid doesn't cost very much. Britain's National Health Service will begin using the treatment this week. The potential treatment couldn't come at a better time. China, the first country hit with the coronavirus, may be seeing a resurgence of COVID-19. The country has seen dozens of new cases in the past week, the most in several months. Beijing's largest wholesale food market was shut down as a preventative measure, and people in the city lined up for testing at a sports stadium.
I'm always skeptical when they find like a drug that we've already had that's super cheap, and it's like that would be the dream case scenario, but...
Well, they said it helped prevent death by up to 1/3,
Yeah.
so it's not like...
Well, I think you should play the last video here because this ties in better. But we found the cure for AIDS and Ebola. We have vaccines for those now.
We do.
Yeah. Roll the tape.
We'll have a very successful vaccine, therapeutic, and cure. We're making tremendous progress. I deal with these incredible scientists, doctors, very, very closely. I have great respect for their minds, and they have come up with things, and they've come up with many other cures and therapeutics over the years. These are the people, the best, the smartest, the most brilliant anywhere. And they've come up with the AIDS vaccine. They've come up with, or the AIDS, and as you know, there's various things, and now various companies are involved. But the therapeutic for AIDS was a death sentence, and now people live a life with a pill. It's an incredible...
So he did correct himself and say therapeutic.
Right.
For AIDS. Okay. Does he continue?
I mean...
Incredible thing. The Ebola vaccine and others, these are the people that have done it, or these are the people that have been around it, and they're all competing. It's an incredible thing. All of these brilliant firms, labs, companies are competing, and I will tell you, we're very far advanced. We've already started tests and trials. So I think we're going to have a very, very good answer to that very, very soon. I always say, even without it, it goes away. But if we had the vaccine, and we will, if we had therapeutic or cure, one thing sort of blends into the other, it will be a fantastic day. And I think that's going to happen, and it's going to happen very soon.
What did he say? Even if we don't have it, it'll go away.
But if we have it, it all kind of blends together.
I gotta listen to that one more time.
Not if you're dying, it doesn't blend together.
We will. If we had therapeutic or cure, one thing sort of blends into the other very soon. I always say, even without it, it goes away. But if we had the vaccine...
Even without it, it goes away.
As I always say.
As I've
said
always
many
said.
times.
Why would he say that?
Do you know what a Wordle is?
No.
A Wordle is like just a collage of words, and they might represent something, I feel like he has this Wordle at his disposal, and it's like AIDS, Ebola, vaccine, cure, good people, brilliant. It's just like this pile of words. It's like 100 words that deal with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And at any given time, he's just like pulling words. Because like nothing he is saying makes any real sense. At times, I feel like on the show I sound like him sometimes. I'm just throwing out words to fill in the time, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together, and it doesn't always come across what I'm thinking as what I'm saying. And nothing about what he just said made any sense whatsoever. It's like he's just talking to talk.
I don't know if it didn't make any sense.
If you put any other politician and say, speak about the state of the vaccine, it would be a cohesive 5 minutes.
Yes.
That was like, there's vaccines for AIDS, and there's vaccines for Ebola, and these are really good people. These are the people that work for the corporations that are on it. And you're like, what in the world are you talking about?
I remember before Trump was elected, but it was getting pretty serious, like he could win. I was listening to the Sam Harris podcast.
I remember, yep.
And Sam Harris, I think he's a brilliant guy. He's a very controversial guy, but he's a brilliant guy. And he had come out many times and said like how against he was of Trump, and how he just thought he was a very foolish person and like he can't possibly be our leader. And when he did that, a lot of his fans were angry. Anytime you say anything political, 50% of the people who like you are now all of a sudden mad. So he does this podcast where he tries to explain his position in the most like logical and non-political way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, think of it this way. If there was a failing business and they have a board meeting and they come in and they say, we can only last a few more weeks. Like, what are we going to do to get out of this? And somebody said, like, raise their hand and says, I have an idea. We should hire Donald Trump as CEO. That guy would be laughed out of the boardroom. Like, no business would ever want to hire him at that time to be their leader. Like, that would be insane. And then he goes on to be like, okay, but let's say you disagree with that. Let's just talk about the way Donald Trump speaks and what he speaks about and the words that he uses, and let's just compare it to the way any other adult speaks. And it's this like, you know it, I know it, everybody knows it. It's been great. Everything I touch is amazing. It's going to be huge. China is evil, but we're going to take them down, and then we're going to be the hugest of all. And he does it much better than me, and he doesn't do it as a joke. He's just like, this is how Trump talks every time he gets on stage. And I'm like, he's making excellent points right now. It's not emotional.
Doesn't he talk about like the vocabulary, how many words he uses, at what level, like what the reading level of his speeches would be?
Yeah.
And he just goes down this path. And I remember thinking like, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But he says what's on his mind. He says the way it is.
You know what I know, what everybody knows it. Photog Mike says, is Aunt Jemima racist and going away? Haven't heard of that, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised. Chris says, guys, I deliver food around Charleston, and this past weekend on Sullivan's Island, it looked like the Nashville footage. Really? Every restaurant and bar, no mask, no social distancing, and there was live music. Wow. We've been talking about going back to Charleston in like 2 weeks.
I wonder what the Nashville footage. They didn't show footage inside the bar. Could it have been that there was social distancing and the people outside was because the bars weren't letting everyone in? It's like you could go to Walmart and be like, look at all the people hanging out at Walmart.
Yeah, but people should have masks. I mean,
I
that's not
agree.
in the States. They don't have masks in the States. But then, at least at the Walmart here, everybody's staying 6 feet apart, and unless you're passing in the aisles or whatever. But it seems everybody's taking it very seriously here in Puerto Rico.
The other day, yesterday or 2 days ago, I got in line at Walmart and the lady had the return stuff, and we were like, if you just go up there, you can skip the whole line. And she was like, oh, thank you. And then I looked at Kristen and I was like, do you think there's any chance that we're going to wait through? I mean, it was, I don't know how many people it was, like 50, 100 people. And I was like, that she's still going to be in the return line? Like, we're going to pass her? And sure enough, we go into Walmart and she's not even close. There was like 10 people in the return line, and she is still waiting.
No!
And I'm like, man, the return line. Because I told Kristen, I was like, I would prefer to be in this line in the heat, because I know it's moving fairly fast. We might be out here for like 10 minutes, but I think we'll be inside in 10 minutes. And I was like, I do not want to be in that return line ever.
Because there's no shade?
No, the return line is shade and air conditioning. But you will be in that line for 30 minutes waiting for them to get through all the people.
I've done the return thing 3 times now, and I've had no wait. I've
Really?
skipped the whole line. I go right inside. There's not a single person in front of me.
Well, I like your idea of just bringing something back to return, and then you don't even need it to be an item that you bought at Walmart. You could just walk in with a package and be like, I'm here to
You
return
have to have
this.
the receipt.
They
But-
check that?
I mean, they want to see the receipt. They don't check to see that the item that you have.
Could I just hold a receipt up?
I mean, if
trying
you're
to-
a liar, yeah.
I mean, if you went to Walmart and the line is like 200 people.
You think you're better than everybody else, Patrick? You just deserve special treatment?
No, I just know the game. I know the system.
It's not a game, Patrick.
the
That's
return.
lying. I have a stockpile of things to return.
And you take them
and I return one thing at a time.
Okay,
so that
how
I
about
can skip
this?
the line.
Can you have an item to return and you pass the line and you go in and then you see the line for the returns and you're like, not today, I'm not returning this today. Is that okay? Because you do have an
Well-
item to return, but you then didn't follow through and actually return it that day.
I mean, the other option that you can do is you could say, I'm not going to return it right now. You go shopping. You come back to the return line when your shopping cart's full. You do the return, and they check you out at the return section. That's the triple play.
Well, let me tell them quickly what happened to me the same trip. I go to get stuff for this photo shoot, and I get the cart. I got the gold spray for your face. I get all this stuff. Wait, I can't remember if I told the story to them, but I like to leave my cart in the aisle or like tucked away somewhere out of people's way, because if you go down the aisles, it's like a traffic jam. I think I've shown some Walmart videos. It's insane.
Yeah.
People will just sit there blocking the entire aisle and talk, or they'll look for like the right washer, and I'm like, you're looking for washers. You're looking for bolts. Move your cart. Like, this is awful. So I will just tuck my cart somewhere, go down the aisles by myself, find what I need. I had everything I needed, and I was about to go to groceries to meet up with Kristen, and I found one thing that I was like, let me just look at this. And I look at it for 2 minutes, and I come back, and I can't find my cart. And then I go up every aisle, thinking maybe I just forgot I put it in the back. I find my cart, and it has 3 things that I know are mine. All 30 of the other items are totally gone. And I'm like, I now have to go and reshop. And what drives me crazy is I just feel like from our restaurant experiences, a lot of people in Puerto Rico, they're not like on top of it. But somehow at Walmart, they are on top of like, oh, there's a left cart. Let me just get all that stuff restocked everywhere. And I'm like, why have they chosen to be so proactive for the cart? But almost every other thing, the DMV, the traffic, the waiting, all the other stuff that we have to deal with, it's like there's no hurry at all. But when it comes to restocking a cart, man, are they on top of that.
Yeah, I had my cart stolen the other day. I did the same thing, and I left for like 30 seconds, and I came back, and they had taken my cart, but the cart was still empty. So I had to do like a lap and go all the way back to the front, get another cart, but I went to the wrong doors, and then they sent me to
What do
the
you
other
mean it was
door.
totally empty? Like you
Like
found...
I hadn't put anything in the cart yet.
Oh, see, I feel like people will take your cart.
Yeah.
So I will, if I'm about to leave my cart to go do the first run, I will put stuff in there I don't need, so it looks like it's being used. Because this is something I've always wondered. I don't work at these big department stores.
You used to.
I guess I did work at Target for like 2 months. But I've always wondered, when I go to Lowe's, when I go to Walmart, many times I walk in thinking I only need 2 or 3 things. I just need to do something really quick, especially at a place like Lowe's. And then I go in there and suddenly I find, oh, filters, I need air filters. And I have my hands full and I need a cart. But the carts are never just hanging around the aisles. They're always at the very front of the store, and then you got all the stuff and you can't go outside. You know, it's a pain. I've always wondered, wouldn't it be better to leave like one empty cart for customers every so many aisles? Because I feel like I always need that, and I have to believe other people need that, right? And it drives me crazy. I'm like, why wouldn't you have a policy where it's like, make sure there's one empty cart every 5 aisles, for especially close to the front of the store? Like,
it just looks like they don't have things under control. That's the problem.
But it just
they need to have like a cart area in the back left and right corners of the stores as well, so you never have to walk too far. Maybe right in the middle. Like
that's not a bad idea.
20 right
like
in
a
the
little
middle.
section of carts that you always know is there.
Potog Mike wants to boycott Walmart. We can't do that. That's the only store that we have in our entire town. Potog Mike, we love Walmart.
It's funny. I would avoid Walmart for my life back in Charleston, and then now, I wouldn't say I look forward to Walmart, but it's like
the highlight.
Got to go to Walmart. Like Walmart's the place to go.
Yeah, man. Last video.
20 Indian soldiers have been killed fighting with Chinese troops on a disputed border region, according to the Indian Army and government sources. In a statement, the Army said that 17 critically injured Indian troops had succumbed to their wounds, in addition to an officer and 2 soldiers who had died earlier. The incident happened on Monday, and the exact circumstances of the killing is not yet clear. Earlier on Tuesday, sources suggested a physical altercation had broken out and no shots were fired. At the time, the sources said the fight involved batons and throwing rocks. It's the first casualties in 53 years to result from a clash between the nuclear-armed neighbors. China blamed India for the clash on Monday, and the editor of the government-controlled Global Times said the Chinese military had also suffered casualties, without elaborating. India and China have been locked in a standoff in the Galwan Valley in western Himalayas for weeks, with both accusing each other of trespassing into the other's territory. Talks have been held in recent days to defuse the situation, but no breakthrough has emerged. The Chinese Foreign Ministry called on India not to take any unilateral action or to stir up trouble.
Again, I feel like I need more information. I saw this clip too, and I didn't put it in because I don't know enough about what's going on. But scary. What'd they say? China killed 17 Indian military men? I mean, can you imagine if you kill one American military member? I mean, we're coming in with crazy amounts of drones and helicopters and stuff. Like, it doesn't seem like that can go well.
I always hear these news stories, and I wonder, is this real escalation? Because my dad's military and retired Army, and he's always talking about, you know, what's happening in Syria, and you know what's happening in Israel. Like, all these little incidents happen in the last, 25 years, and it's always the brink of, when 9/11 happened, I was like, man, my dad has been talking about Osama bin Laden, you know, he was always one of those guys. I wonder if this sort of thing is I don't wonder. I know it's always happening at all times, but are we seeing something that is the beginning of a real war? Or is this just news that's just popular today, and it's like some of the other news stories we've talked about, like the assassination attempt on the president of Venezuela? This is just not going to go anywhere, and it's always kind of going?
Yeah.
Or is it oh my gosh, South and North Korea are at odds. Now you got India and China, 2 nuclear powers at odds. You have all of this escalation. Is this really something to be concerned about? Or is it just noise that's always there every day, and this area has been disputed for, it's like Kashmir or something. You're like, oh, it's been disputed for such a long period of time. It's not really a big deal.
Yeah. I have no idea. Hopefully this is just a small mistake or error, and people will forget about it soon, but
that's all the videos that we have. There was one link that I put in the description, and it was about the Minnesota, I forget what it was called, the Minnesota Freedom Fund. And this was the people that were trying to raise bail for every protester that was arrested in these riots. You heard about this?
No.
So they created this Freedom Fund to help bail people out that were involved in the riots. Well, they wound up getting $35 million in donations. And it came out today that they've only spent $200,000 to bail people out from the protests, meaning they basically netted $35 million. I don't know if it was like kind of like a GoFundMe type of website.
What?
Yeah.
So
or was it GoFundMe?
They're just straight up stealing $35 million?
Well, it makes you wonder, like, when you're a charity, I mean, you have to, which reminds me, we have to give, we're definitely done with the Patreon. Like, we need to give that money away.
Yeah.
The $219.
Is it that much?
Oh, I don't know. Is it less?
Oh, I thought it was like $50.
It's less than $200?
I thought it was.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was $50-some.
To be transparent, like, we have every intention to give that away, and I feel like we should do it, but...
Yeah. Now, if it was $35 million...
You got to. You have to, you know?
I mean,
maybe you give it away to a charity that you created. That would be the way that the politicians and the scam artists would do.
Yeah.
But you can't hold on to it. So I guess people now are questioning, like, what will this Minnesota Freedom Fund actually do? Because there's not enough people to raise bail for
I
it.
bet they're going to hire a CEO who requires a multi-million-dollar salary.
Yeah.
And then they will slowly give away the rest of the money on bail, but this
then,
one guy will do well.
And then the Minnesota Freedom Fund will become one of those entities that they all despise.
Who?
Anyone who's like, corporations are the enemy and nobody should be making millions of dollars as a CEO. They all say that until they find themselves in a situation like this where they're like, holy crap, I have millions of dollars and I have nowhere to put it, and it's going to be taken from me, or I got to refund it. Like, I can't do that. They find some way to create a company that then pays a guy a reasonable salary. Reasonable. And so, yeah, that was kind of the outrage today, this morning. You know, all my news came from this morning because we've been shooting all day, but...
Well, I think that wraps it up. You ready to call it quits?
I got to have a serious discussion about Florida.
Yes, you do, with Kristen. The interesting
Is
thing
Katie
about
on board?
Kristen, I think Katie's on board. The interesting thing about Kristen, and I bet she's watching right now, is anytime she talks about the wedding, I see a little twinkle in her eye. And all of a sudden, she's very excited.
Yeah.
And so this idea that she could potentially go to Orlando, hit up the parks, and then go to Miami, see family, and do wedding stuff.
Yeah.
I think that is more exciting to her than the park itself.
I mean, I think she would even agree to that. Like, she kind of acted like she was a thrill seeker early on in our relationship.
That's what all people do.
But now I'm like, let's go do the zip line. No, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, let's do the roller coasters.
Yeah.
She'll do that, but I mean, Katie's like that too. Katie has learned, I feel like, she's learned to ride roller coasters, but she is the most miserable person in that moment. She's screaming and crying and having emotional breakdowns. Didn't we have a behind the scenes with Pi and Mike, and everybody was filming her in what's the Six Flags in LA? And Katie's just like...
Yeah, I made a video, it's on my Facebook, of Katie screaming. Just, it's a montage of her just from all the different roller coasters in Six Flags or something like that. And it's a great video.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she's on board. I think we should do it, man.
I gotta look up respirators. I gotta see what the delivery time is.
Is Kristen gonna wear that too?
No,
Is
I'll get
Kristen gonna wear a respirator when she gets her wedding makeup trial done on her face?
Again, you keep saying this stuff. I feel like it's just in the airport or on the flight. I feel like having one person do makeup for you is so relatively...
Are you going to be inside a place with air conditioning? Because that's what the girls have claimed they are afraid of this entire time. they wouldn't dare go eat in a restaurant unless it's, of course, this Friday when it's their friend's baby shower.
Is that what's
then
happening?
They're going to make an exception and
Yeah.
go in the restaurant because they want to. That's the thing.
Are
is
we going
that-
to become a world of exceptions?
Yes, we already are. That's the thing.
I was like, the gold Lamborghini? I'll go to Dorado. I'll go to Dorado to see that.
Exactly. And the girls, Katie especially, is 100% happy sitting inside and doing nothing for months on end. And when I tell her, I'm like, we got to get out of here. She's like, why? This is amazing here. She just sits on the porch and like knits all day and she's totally happy. And I'm like, I can't live this life.
Yeah.
I have to do other things.
Yeah, you were so bored today. There's like photo shoots and stuff going on. There's the ability to like tell me to stop shooting and do something creative yourself. And you're like, I'm willing to go run and get the salad. I'm going to go to Pizza Hut just to get out of the house.
Yeah,
And I'm like, you would rather run an errand?
Yeah.
I hate errands. Like driving out of here.
Yeah, normally I hate errands too
stresses
because I
me
have
out.
better stuff going on. I don't have anything going on now, so I'm like, ooh, I'll get a salad. That's the highlight of my day.
People are asking where the video is of Katie. I believe you put that montage in where art meets architecture behind the scenes.
Oh, maybe you're right.
So you have to look up WAMA 3 or 2. I forget which one it is, but it's in there somewhere.
I don't remember which one it is. Yeah, but I think it's also just on my Facebook for anybody who's my Facebook
Dude,
fan.
I am about to pass out. This has been such a long day.
Let's wrap up. Photog Mike says, how much for Lee to eat a whole pickled Doritos bag? I will definitely throw up if I do that.
Wait, is that a thing? Doritos makes a pickle flavored like chip?
I mean, I've definitely had pickle flavored chips. I don't know if I've had pickled Dorito flavor.
Was it at your bachelor party that we had some pickle shot or something? What is that?
I've had that before.
There's
You do some other shot, and then you do a shot of pickle juice at the end,
and they're like, it tastes great. It's like the first thing fools your mind, and I'm like, I still didn't feel good afterwards.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's like a $500 thing because that's potentially like ruined my night. I'm gonna vomit, and then I'll feel sick the entire next day. So that feels like $500 to me. So save your money.
Stock market was up big today, right?
Great. I'm sure my Tesla short position is printing.
Dude, you know what's done really well for me? It's that Smith & Wesson stock that I bought. The gun stock like 2 weeks
I thought you
ago.
got out of your gun stocks.
I sold one because it spiked like 30%. And I was like, I noticed it in the shower before I went to bed, and I was like, I got to sell this. So I sold that. But I kept the
Did it
Smith
go back down?
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. I need to look back into it and see if it was worth buying again. Oh, it was the sporting good one. And I think it's probably done pretty good, but you saw sporting goods had like 80% gain over the last month.
Yeah, but you know, that's a lot of people. I think bikes are at an all-time high.
I know people are saying anything sport related is just flying off shelves.
Well, think about it. I mean, you can't go to the gym.
Yeah,
so
that's
you want
why
a
it
home
might be a
gym.
good buy, because they spiked because they were a gun supplier. They sold guns at their store, and people wanted guns after the riots. But what if everyone's buying all sporting goods and that's kind of going under the radar? I'm sure it's not under the radar. A lot of investors know this. But
That's
like
the
when they do
problem.
their quarterly reports, what if they do have the best quarter ever? Or they just, all they have to do is beat the expectation, and they might skyrocket 20, 30, 40%. Like in a month or two. Like that's crazy gains if you're willing to take that risk.
Yeah, I just feel like by the time you hear about it, it's already over. So if you jump on the bandwagon, you're like, everyone's buying home workout equipment. I'm going to invest in Bowflex. That's a fad, and then in 6 months from now, it's done.
I think there's levels. I think if you're big into investment, you hear the insider news before it happens. Like Smith & Wesson, that their ticker just changed. They were another company for like the last year or two, and then they went back to the original ticker. So it was one of those where I bought it the first day that it went back to that, so I think few people knew about it. But if you're an investor, you know about these things. If you're like us, where we're just casually keeping up, we learn about it a little late. But then there's probably the next tier of people. It's like our parents who aren't stock traders at all. It's like Bitcoin. All of a sudden, when your parents are talking about Bitcoin at Thanksgiving, that's when it's like mooning, but it's also out of control. I feel like Tesla could be like, a lot of these stocks are like that. So
Yeah.
I think there's different stages where if you can get in on even on that middle level, yes, you're a little late to the game, but you still might be in a good position to make some money.
It's true.
I also read.
Not putting any money in there.
Do they have more PPP money coming out, or what's the other loan, the EIDL or whatever? I think all these people are telling me there's people in this neighborhood and people in my investing group are saying, "Oh my gosh, the government just opened up all of this new loan stuff that you can get." It's like more money is being flooded into the market.
We have done lost our minds. All right,
Yeah.
guys, I think we should wrap it up. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe. This is a new YouTube channel. Head over to fstoppers.com/store. Check out our full-length tutorials. Critique the community tomorrow. We could do that.